We are now live. I'd like to welcome everybody, one and all, to our show. This is Campagin's Musings, and on the blurry cam is my hand. This is how it always is. So today, before we begin, I want to say thank you for everybody that showed up, and for those of you that watched the earlier stream of my alpha test RPG that I'm doing some work on. It was a little bit stop and go here and there, but I was updating some of the character sheets because I've got a new set of ideas and standards I want for the game, and I had a lot of fun running that. Blaine, I know you saw part of it. If you ever have
Yeah,
an
yeah.
idea, if you ever have an idea that could make that game better, let me know. I won't immediately implement it, but I'll try.
Nah, it's okay. I've been so far. So far, it seems to be working pretty good. So I really got nothing to really poke apart on it
Okay.
because you really kind of hit one of the things I do kind of what like, but is going from percentile over from D20 over to percentile was a pretty smooth and easy, smart choice. And from there, rebuilding it's just you got to rebuild a whole lot of game.
I think so. Our buddy from the other game. Hi, Al. How you doing?
Hey there.
How you been, man? And before we begin, I'd like to pay the bills here, so let me just crap. Come on, bring me the ad read for no. Come on, campaigns. All right, so the campaigns give me they're not giving me the stuff for Rumble Premium. Let me just tell you a little bit about Rumble Premium. I'm a subscriber to it. I pay 10 a month, and there is a neat little feature that they do on Rumble Premium. They have the Rumble Studio. Rumble Studio so far has given me a really good color resolution, and I've got some really good color available. There's a new camera I'm using that it's not this next to go, it's another one, but on my other stream, it has a sepia tone because for some odd reason, Restream doesn't do the color correction right on that camera. On this one here, this is a very impressive color that I get off of Rumble Premium and the Rumble Studio, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This I connected. No, I'm not. So that would explain why it wasn't showing up on a roster of cameras. And what Rumble does for a lot of us is it just gives us a place to say things that other places don't want to be heard. You can say them, they just blacklist you. They don't let you talk about it. They don't let you be factual about things because it hurts their narrative or their ideas or whatever garbage they're trying to promote. You're saying things against it. Whereas at Rumble, they just want really more of the truth come out. They don't want to have quote unquote hate speech, but hate speech is free speech. So the camera that I like to use other places, I get this piece here. This has a little bit of a different color vibe to it right now. As I just finished talking about, oh, it's great over on there. But here, yeah, you see a little bit of a different color grading, but it's not that different. It's not as nearly as bad as the one that I have in the front room. This gives me a slight sepia tone, not much. But that's the view from a top delay TV, and whenever I do that, it basically completely whites everything out as I expect it to. The IPVO camera that I'm swapping over right now, that thing there, amazing color. And Rumble does a better job with color than Restream or StreamYard, I think. I recommend anybody use Rumble for their studio work. The only thing Rumble hasn't got at the $10 tier that I've noticed that Restream does at a $50 tier, I might add, is extra cameras. I can have extra cameras going on around here, and I typically like to just have the focus be on what my hands are working on. Right now, I'm just trying to get the paint to stick on these brand new Reaper figs. The newer Reaper figs are made out of like a resin poly, and they have kind of like a slick feel. So getting the paint to stick to them sometimes, like a primer would, it's it's sometimes very very difficult. So this is the Queen of Hell that I've got, and I really like how her detail just pops out. Anyway,
Very.
so that's kind of what I'm working on. But I do want to say that if anybody here is interested in Rumble as a streaming platform, I like it. A lot of people I know use it. Some people use it as an auxiliary for their YouTube stuff because they've already got an established base. But Rumble seems to be the future home for what I want to do because at some point YouTube will have draconian measures implemented so poorly that there will be no other reason to stay on YouTube because it's just you're going to be censored by China. Don't go with China. China is asshole. So, with that being stated, I do think that there are valuable things over at Rumble, and still I can use my YouTube, etc., etc. There are ways for you to add in graphics or overlays and such. They're fairly easy tutorials. I've not done any because that's just not my thing. I don't do that. I might share a clip from a movie or something, but now let's get to the heart of our studio talk. And tonight, me and Khy are going to discuss a lot of the things in a game that runs for any length of time. And that's kind of important for anybody that wants to run a game or host a game is to have players. Because if you don't have players, you're just there masturbating mentally with your book, and you don't want to do that. You want to have people come to your game and be challenged and then entertained second. Challenge them first. Make them work for the rewards. That's my theory that I'm going to kind of go with. Khy, what do you have to add, my friend?
At what point? At what? Once we're talking about a longer term campaign, which point are we looking at? Like just the point where I almost just want to know how far into the campaign are we like thinking the part where the players have laid down their own ambitions and goals, or help me narrow this down a little bit. So like I think I know where this is going, but I kind of want a little bit more direction.
Okay, so you have an idea to get people together to gather, and you give them player characters, or they roll them up, or they choose them. And after you have your initial, like your tutorial run,
Yeah,
after you do the milk run, because the tutorials should not be something that feels like it's based out of From Software. It should feel like it's something that's capable of beating, or at the very least, it requires time to unlock the secrets to the success of that. And that should be something that will be kind of a repeat as you play the game and you have your players gather more skills for their heroes and they learn how to work as a team, and you as a GM are there to kind of facilitate direction and challenges, but the motivation for them to push and push and push and push year after year after year. And I say that because I don't know if the Pathfinder game I've had it is there so long because the players genuinely love that system, which I don't anymore, or if the fact that they just want to see how high they can create and craft a character because the game is so I hate to say player accessible, but when you have tools like Hero Labs, which throws all the options in their faces, and your idea as a GM, you're like you got like maybe 15 or 10 ideas for okay, here's where you want to take your character, here's where it will best be themed for this campaign. You're like, no, I want to play Tabaxi. I want to play a Kitsune. I want to play a character, but you have no intention of ever facilitating place for.
yeah, I know.
And I, not that I discourage outside the theme of a game, but I want you to be able to find a home for your character where you're at and not jerk my campaign and play style and force me to facilitate you at a place that I don't want to go. Say, like, if you're running Star Wars and we're playing in the guerrilla system and we're going to be fucking with ship parts and smuggling, don't force me to go follow the steps of Luke and take a non Jedi campaign into Jedi mode and give you a fucking personal lesson from Yoda on Dagobah. And that's kind of how I feel about games. Like, if that no at the start, I kind of want to give an overview of the campaign before I start the session. A lot of guys call it session zero, and I think that's a waste of time. You could just put it on the flyer, like, hey, this is going to be a Tramp Freighters campaign. We're going to be doing some stuff that has very little to do with the Outer Rim or anything that was shown in the original trilogy of movies. We're going to be doing these things instead. And it would be the same thing if Khy was to say, I'm running a Brandon Sanderson style inner city political campaign with rogues and politicians, and somebody rolling up a fucking warlock and turning it into a demonic possession filled horror fest where eventually the players have to fight one of their own as he morphs into a greater pit fiend like what's in my hand. And that wasn't anything that you had in mind for your campaign. You wanted to do like corruption and grime and guilt and occasionally like delving into adult themes, but not into like outright stuff just out of the wheelhouse for the campaign. You had an idea for things and you covered that. You let everybody know that, and somebody else still manages to want to hijack it. I like at a point I've been in games before where I'm like, this character that you have is really cool. He's going to go off and do his thing and maybe be around for act 3 of the campaign. You need to roll a character that actually fits with the other players' motivations and provide for them a means to have a character they can rely on and help them, not be a hindrance to them, cockblock them every step of the way from narratives that they want to explore because they are there in the discussion of the game at the table, and force me to want to run a game that I don't want to run. I thought we understood this. And then you have some people like, well, if you have session zero, you don't have that. No, it was actually in the flyer for the game when I first announced this, and we've discussed this all privately and with each other too. I don't need to have a game that goes into you becoming the avatar of Zinch. I need you to be a rat catcher in the middle of Bogenhofen and be ready if something kind of goes wrong on a street level, but not have any aspirations. If you want to turn into the greater demon of Zinch, that's neat, but that's not this campaign because I won't facilitate that. And you might even see things like a pink or blue horror, but you're not going to turn into that. You're trying to not be a bad guy. You're trying to be a hero. And I want to have a discussion about how to keep a campaign kind of within those variables, not be a railroad, but allow the players to explore just exactly how bad things could get and then try to rescue it from the jaws of defeat maybe multiple times throughout the campaign. That's that I find that ultimately much more interesting than saying, okay, kids, if you'll open up your books to your ultimate equipment guide, I'm going to give you a shopping run. You each get 200,000 gold to start your characters with because we're starting at 15th level, and there'll be 4-hour combat rounds. So if you want to take a nap while your buddies are doing their things in combat, just go ahead and leave your character face down on the battle mat until I know you're ready to play. God damn it. I don't want that.
Okay. Okay. The bad part here is that I was in a wasn't a campaign that we were playing Dark Heresy, that it where we started was not where we ended up, and we did have a player who fell to I fell to the forces of chaos, and he thought he was being all super sneaky, and you know but then again, we also found out that the GM was secretly in the background going and trying to tempt everybody in the group with at least one chaos god to see who would who would fall. So I guess he went in. He didn't tell us at the start of the game that that was his intention, was to see to see who each of us would be tempted by, and if we would actually fall to temptation and join the forces of darkness. So we all went in with the idea that, oh, this is going to be a nice little dark heresy campaign, and yeah, we had 3 of the 9 kids all fall to I fall to the ruinous powers, each of them to a different one. But I I guess that doesn't really work, because that was actually the GM's intention, but he didn't tell us. He was actually being a good GM, and like, this is my story. This is what we're all going to do, and let's see if it actually plays out. But that was also a very a veteran GM doing that. But there's also the simple point that where you start is never where you're going to end, especially as players explore ideas. Even if you limit the character classes and what they can do, ultimately it's what the player personality, and as they play longer, they develop their own ideas, their own personality, their own characters, where they go from being a stat sheet to a person. And people are flawed, people have goals, and they change. So there's a certain point, the longer the game goes, and I know you're worried about, let's see how high a level, but there's also a certain point where some people are legitimately invested in their character. And some players, they keep showing up, not because the game is the mechanical game, the character, the sheets, the power gains is what draws them back. It's the actual game. It's the story being told. It's the I want to see this to the end, to the conclusion, to where the story will eventually be. And I don't I know I don't want to speak for other people. I want to speak for myself. And I know that there's a certain point where once my character hits reliable, like where I don't feel like I'm inferior, behind the 8 ball, crap, having to be scrappy all the time, that I stop worrying about, do I need another level? Do I need a gear upgrade? Do I need this? And it becomes more, I'm looking for stylistic improvements. I'm looking for character improvements, skills, the environment I live in, because I know I'm not the common player. I know I'm not the average person. So I know that I can get by being a janitor on a space cruiser whose only job is I run the life support systems and I push buttons on the scanners every once in a while, and I'll be okay with that.
Or
Or
maybe, I'm going to interject here real quick. If you were a space janitor on a ship, like you would also be dealing with recirculation and
yeah,
filter changing. So you'd be an integral part of like an investigation of something, especially going awry. Like, if you were playing a B5 game, like you would know every inch of Babylon 5,
yeah,
and
Brown sector would be my home.
yeah, and you'd probably be really familiar with the bartender down in the down below areas, right?
Yeah, on Zocalo and down below, I would know pretty much everybody down there, because I'm an integral person to it. Yeah, I'm not security. Yeah, I'm not. I might find myself up in blue sector working on somebody's life support, because their quarters are cold that day, because space is cold. um,
Yeah, I actually don't know what the temperature is of space. I've heard both. It's really hot. It's really cold. I don't know, but I just know you stay inside the ship. You stay
Yeah,
inside unless you've got your protective vac suit on. You're staying in.
yeah. Shade is shade is cold. Sun bright is hot. But but I can live with once I've established, figured out what my role is in the group, and if I'm able to do the role reliably and continuous, without feeling like I'm a detriment, it's good enough. Like you're good enough. You're enjoying what the game is well enough, and that's fine. And it actually frees me from the rat race. I have to get more shit. I have to get more gear. I kind of like the idea of once I know where I'm at and what I'm capable of, and if the threats are doable, I'm okay. I'm okay with what where the game is at that point. And now I can move from sheet to personality. It's I don't want to say it's kind of almost the Maslow hierarchy of needs, but for gaming. And some players never move past. I need bigger number stats go up. I need bigger numbers. Fill up more dots because ultimately I play more storyteller games. So for me, it's dots. I fill more dots, but because there's a hard limit in a storyteller game on getting more dots. Once you have 5 and 5, well, you've got all the dots you could ever have.
Yeah, become the peak.
Yeah. So you really what do? You become peak in more things or you diversify. But you came out of the box already near peak and you went from damn good to world class. And because when you're playing a storyteller, you're trying to play a character who is world class. Like you're supposed to be exceptional. And so most people pick their one or two things that they're iconic for, that they're exceptional at, and then they flesh out as the game goes all the other bits to the point where you become a more fleshed out character. Yeah, you came out of the box boring, and then you grew, or you came out really flexible and then specialized into being peak. The problem, but we're used to playing level based games or these threshold things where because Dark Heresy, it's simply once you spend enough XP, you now qualify for the next tier of character and of your class, and now you get access to new powers that you can buy, new abilities. You can play it like that. Star Wars just simply there's no cap to the amount of dice you could eventually roll if you play long enough, but that's also just a pile of d6s you're rolling. That's Shadowrun. A lot of games that I like, but then we hit D&D, which because we have levels, there's just a certain point that's what you do. But if you start to drag out the space between leveling and you spend time in time in grade and well, if you can't constantly level and the gear isn't improving, what are you there for? You're there to play the character, to move the story, find the plot line, enjoy it. The players who can't do that aren't going to stick around and play for 2-3 years. If you got 2-3 years, they either like the people you game with, they like the story that's being run, and they're there. They're invested. And at that point, you got to figure out why are they there. And the Discord channel got hacked, and somebody deleted it. We don't know who. I wish I knew who, because I hadn't had a chance to copy all of my stuff off the server before it was killed.
Yeah. Our friend Calvinani just showed up and he says, I was raised a poor orc child. I did not shut down the Discord.
It was shut down for us.
Somebody from St. Louis hacked my channel, or they spoofed it from St. Louis. They hacked my channel and it went away. And then about 2 weeks later, then it went away. I do have a Gilded server, but I don't really talk about that much. Gilded broke my heart when they got sold out to Roblox, and Roblox is kind of a weird uh, place because it's kind of like Minecraft light, wouldn't you say?
It's a light Minecraft.
But the problem that I have with Roblox is just not the kids to play it. God, I want the kids to play games, and I'd rather them play with Lego bricks myself. But okay, you got Roblox and Minecraft. You can build infinitely. Legos in real life are very expensive. I don't know why that happened, but like between 2005 and 2010, Lego got all the themes and franchise rights to make every variety of Lego block ever. Back when I was growing up, it was Lego Main Street, Lego Space. That was it. And Lego Space wasn't like Star Wars. It was like Lego Space. We are exploring space, and these guys are doing dangerous things. And they had little moon rocks and moon rovers, and they had little craters, and you could build not proto rockets, but little rockets with booster tanks on them. And then like I turned over one day and there was Star Wars Legos. I'm like, what? And I saw the price of Star Wars Legos, and I thought I'd just be better off investing in the old Kenner stuff because that would be cheaper.
It would be.
And I just it broke my heart. It really did, because Lego used to be fun and exciting, and now Lego's just like, here's a boomer habit you can get into, and you can waste an entire paycheck on one thing. And I'm not in that. I'd rather do other stuff. But Gilded has had problems in the past because of the creeps from Roblox that like to talk to kids. That's not a good group of people, mind you. Um, they showed up at Travis's door one day in Illinois, one of my players in the other campaign, and come to find out, one of Travis's stepsons had interactions with a bad person on Roblox, and Travis doesn't monitor the things going on in his house. I mean, he does talk to the kids, he does eat supper with them, he does good stepdad things. But whenever the kids are playing a game, they interact with whoever's on microphone, and I guess that's what happened. The kid, there was nothing quote unquote at risk from what the kid said. The kid informed him that like there was some questions that didn't quite feel right, and he kind of disconnected from that conversation, kind of tried to get out of that area. And this is a problem that I have with Roblox. It's just full of creeps like that. If you're a groomer, that's a place where like it's on your immediate favorites list.
Yep.
And I despise that. I'm looking for a place that's not Discord, not Gilded, to host my server again. Kind of like have the same things. I think Twitter might be the answer, because Twitter seems to be doing more and more things. We're streaming to Twitter right now as we speak. I don't have any viewers off Twitter, but Twitter you can stream videos on, and that's kind of neat. You can also do it on locals, but I don't. Well, I guess I should look at locals more. Thank you, Rumble Premium. I'm sorry I didn't read your script in order all the way through. You guys yoinked the script away from me, by the way, and I'd rather you bring the script back. I'd read it for you in its entirety, just so I could earn my 7 cents. Thank you. Not that I need 7 cents, but I do want to show patronage to Rumble because I prefer your platform to YouTube.
Yes.
Okay, I noticed it disappeared. Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, that was a sad day.
It's like trying to log into it and bouncing emails back and forth. Okay, well you changed your password and everything from St. Louis. No, I didn't. I'm not in St. Louis. I'm in San Antonio. Oh, really? Yeah. Can you get it back for me?
No.
Radio silence. I mean, hell, even Six Nations 31 Kings had his Discord get hacked, which I don't understand why somebody would want to hack his stuff, because he's not even a quote unquote a influencer or have a active channel with a schedule. He's just a consumer. He's a player. He's one of these guys that he gets involved with streams of people he likes. He gets in the chat of people that he'll appreciate, but he's not out there trying to make, content. He's just he'll be a participant, but he's not scheduling streams, not trying to do topics, etc., etc. Yeah, I went to post minis and nada. I feel you, bud. If it makes you feel better, I have two more boxes to unpack, and I need to paint these figurines up first. So that's why I'm kind of primering this little girl here. And I have to say that the basic paints from Hobby Lobby are great, but they are not as good as the apple barrel paints from Walmart because those are the best ones. If you don't want to wash your figurines from Reaper, just want to start primering and then go once it dries. The apple barrel paints from Walmart are really good for Reaper. That's all I'm going to say. These are Crafters collection. This is a Tiger Lily orange, and this is 49 cents. Don't know if you can see that.
That's not bad.
49 cents. Yeah, it's not bad. It's good water-based acrylic. Okay, so um, I don't mean to go over on level and class systems either versus storyteller systems. I think both of them achieve various things. Some of them do some things really really well.
Yeah.
Um, One thing I might be doing in the near future is revitalizing. Once I get the domains written all the way down and edited properly in my document, I'll start getting the spells ready for Janet, and then I'll start detailing the various spells. But I think the speed times of the casting times of the spells, like the base casting, it'll be 5. And then for every level above that, it'll be 2 extra, unless it's a specialty spell. Like there's a 6th level spell in my game, 5th level spell in others called Teleport. And it takes like 10 seconds to cast normally. But I might turn that up to a 15 and then have a 7th level spell, Teleport Now, which just literally requires like 5 seconds. You know, like I need this right now. Get me out of here now. And have the same parameters as Teleport you plus 1 person for every 4 levels. And therefore you can get you and some other people within reach and yoink them out of there quickly. But
Right.
I think doubling the spell time, not doubling the time, but the levels per like if first level spell is 7, second level spell be 9, a third level spell be 11, and that's you might fuck over some of your friends. I might, but as players level up, some of their things, their casting times or their weapon speeds drop. Like today, I was altering some of the character sheets. Like Six Nations has a lower casting or lower swing time on his weapon that he uses because he has weapon focus in it.
Yeah.
Yoger has dropped his war axe swing time to that of from 12 to 10. So as you level up and you start getting more and more things to where you're doing things better, you're actually doing them more fluidly and you're getting the words out properly. I don't remember in second edition AD&D if there was ever a way to drop your casting time, but because it was round by round, it really didn't rely on that. This is not round by round. This is just second by second by second by second by second, and it's an evolution of the last option you had. So once you complete an action, I ask you, what do you want to do next? Okay, if you don't get interrupted, it'll go off on this time, and therefore that's how that works. Hey, Six Nation 31 Kings, how you doing?
Hey there. Honestly, I really liked that system. The system you got, I really like it because it's similar to something that I really really enjoyed. So yeah,
What do you mean?
um I forgot what game it was, but it was one I played a long time ago, and I really loved it. And I wish so badly that I could find the game or revitalize it. But the thing was it it used an initiative dial almost, and when you did an attack or a spell, it has it had an attack speed or casting time, and it would move you through the along the dial. And so like I forgot how many segments the dial had, But so everybody would have their own dial, and or I forgot how it worked. I was like, this is something that I realized this has been 30 years. This has been almost 30 years since I've seen this. But as you attacked, you moved through this. You moved through the dial, and eventually we got rid of the dial itself and just put D12s down or a die. But as you moved through it, when it would cycle back to the top, so at whatever the number was, that would be the end of a round. So if you had spell abilities that said, it took X number, like it would last X number of rounds, that would be that many times through the dial. So you could actually have multiple spells ticking off. So it would tick off at 1, and then you would go through the entire dial and it would reset. And so the people who had like throwing daggers, small abilities, or like dual wielding, or so the big power attacks would big heavy weapons and power attacks would eat up huge chunks of the dial, and you wouldn't act again until it would get back to, like, say, for hypotheticals, just going to say you have 20 segments, a d20 common die, 20 segments in a turn, and so you act and say I swing. Everyone rolls initiative. You figure out where you're going to be. Attacks, weapon speeds and spell speeds would kick in, and so you attack, and you wouldn't be able to attack to power attack again until you got back to, say, a heavy attack. I'm just making shit up at this point now, like, because I want to make the example clear. Like the heavy weapon was like a speed class 9 weapon. I'm just gonna say with that. So it would be 9 before you could swing, power attack again. So it would actually give you. So if you're fighting somebody who's, lots of small daggers coming in real fast, and so you're like, okay, I can't super power attack swing, but I might be able to get a quick pommel strike, in, because it would be fast. You would be able to interrupt somebody before you can swing again, heavy. And as it was just that idea. Oh God, I wish I knew where I saw this, so I can
I
recall.
want to say the pommel strike was something that was in Seventh Sea.
Probably,
I want to say that because there was like different fighting styles for different provinces and countries that you were from, and they didn't like have real world locations, but they had real world like locations. So you had like your France, you had your Germany, you had your Spain, and the German guys typically chose like a flamberge or a claymore
yeah,
or something like that, and the Spanish guys were more like susceptible to heat because they were usually in warm environments, so they're not lugging around heavy armor and a big fat sword to cut through that armor or try to cut through the joints in it and get to the soft parts. But they were using like rapiers and paris and ripostes and stuff like that. Pari dodge spin thrust.
yeah. But
And
the
our
thing
friend
was,
Cotton Ministries said, "Hey Bruce, hey Cotton Ministries."
yeah. But your idea, like the way you're describing how initiative works, hit whatever ancient brain thing rot that was in my head, and said, no, no, this clicked with me, and I like the idea of that work, that ability to track through, because maybe that might also be somewhere deep down my Starfleet Battles player brain talking there,
Hmm.
where weapons have impulse, turns and impulse, and each turn has a number of impulses inside a turn, and therefore my brain goes, no, no, I understand this. This is perfect for me. I understand. Um, in some weird way, I understand.
Yeah, pommel strike is something that I haven't really gotten to Six Nations yet, or anybody else that typically uses like a short sword. Um, I was thinking if he was to like go with rapier, I was thinking he would probably have that opportunity to add that to his repertoire to do something, and that would be kind of like the opening up of the ye old combat reflexes. But combat reflexes kind of doesn't work for the most part with a system like what I've got right now. It does and it doesn't. Like
No.
if your attack is faster than their attack, yeah, you have the opportunity to whack them before that. But if you're in the middle of your swing and they're like, I'm just gonna move 30 foot away, like the best you can do is try to throw a leg out there and trip them. Go ahead and roll me your combat maneuver bonus and see if you can pull a trip off. And they might get an attack back at you, but they probably won't. Um, because in order for them to get an attack back, they would have to beat your combat maneuver bonus with a reflex save, and that would let me know like not only they not get tripped, but they also had that attack get that weapon around as they're trying to get the fuck out of dodge. And then, aha! But and it's kind of an intricate system. I get it, but
Oh yeah.
it's not really that intricate. I think my system's a lot easier, a lot
Honestly,
faster.
and it doesn't. It's not that hard a concept. I won't. It's not a hard concept, and I really wouldn't think that anybody who once they once they played for a bit, they'd understand how it works.
Yeah, boy, do I agree with that. It just it's more of a matter of like you don't look for combat because like you have one exploding die, so does a bad guy. Two, it really it's almost like in the exploration phase of the game. Oh boy, Pathfinder 2 reference. In the exploration phase of a game, like the DM of my system should be consistently just rolling perception checks for both the party and what's around them.
Yeah.
And whoever notices who first, you think you hear something, that should make the entire table just like be quiet. What do we see? What's going on around us? And that's kind of when I start drawing out the battle mat and like start like, okay, well, you're gonna hear trees over here, stuff over here, this corner's here, this rubble's here. And if the players play smart, like they get the drop on said bad guys. Uh, I'm in favor of giving a game set of rules to where, like, the surprise round should fucking represent nearly the entire combat because of the fact that if you catch somebody unaware, if you properly can pull off an ambush, there shouldn't have to be a retributive or counterattack that you have to sustain. You've done your job right. You dropped the enemy, but while their guard was down, and I want that in a system. I don't want like round by round battles from he who shoots here, or who does this here, he does. No, I really would like it more if I ran it better because I don't really think I run that good sometimes. But I think if the players are moving around silently and trying to be very stealthy in their processes, like they're going to get the drop on most of the bad guys. Like if you remember the old game Tengu,
Yes.
the ninja game.
Yeah.
Okay, if you play a game like that smart, only during the scripted crappy combats should
Would
you
you
have
actually
to
fight?
really. Yeah, you shouldn't have to have your asshole puckered so much.
No.
You know, you should be able to get the drop on the bad guys until you're discovered and the alarm goes off. Then it's a okay. How much more do we farm for equipment and XP before we leave here? And then we retreat to a safe spot. Then we creep back in at a later date from a different direction and go at this again. And I want that. I don't want a game that feels like 3.x where I draw the battle mat out first and this is going to be just a series of combat rounds and initiatives and it makes my fucking head bleed because that's really not fun for me. I would find it more fun if the players played smart. I want them to play smart so fucking much.
Yeah. Well, who doesn't? Because
And,
smart allows you.
well, no, and I'm not complaining about the game I just ran. That group of people, they're not used to 3x. Well, Janet is kind of, but they're really
Now.
not used to it now. She is, but like those guys are they're Palladium players, and so they see value in how that's ran, and they are doing their best to make their characters better and to hone themselves as I give new releases on. Okay, here's codified rules. Here's this. And you're like, okay, well, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to try this. Okay, cool. Um, I did kind of force Nerdy Ogre to take the accurate stance power, but the way he plays his character, I just don't see him doing anything different at this time. An accurate stance, when you rage, like you really become very focused on where that axe is going to land. Whereas in a normal rage, you don't. You're kind of wild swinging at a certain point. And I want to reflect more. That's one thing I'll be writing in the GM section of this, because it's organic and it spurs organic growth. I want the players and the GM to kind of work together on things as you develop the campaign, like make the options available for you so your players can keep playing smarter, can keep evolving towards a smart direction. And I think that's so important for a campaign, because if the players don't play smart, then we are back at, all right, we'll grab 3 dice 6. Let's write down the following stats, and I don't want to do that to this group.
And some people don't ever move past that stage, though. That's just where they're comfortable at.
Yeah, I could agree.
It's no fun to say that, but
No.
some players just are comfortable at that and having to deal with that. But the thing is I think as we get older, the more of us just. It was a weird moment that my boss, who just went to another job, he was asking weird questions, and he found out that I played D&D, and he's like, "I've never played D&D. I want to," because he was a young kid. He's like 30. He just turned 30, and he's like, "I want to play D&D," and I'm like, it's a shame you're quitting. I can talk to you for the rest of the time about this, and so we ended up for like 3 days before he left, annoying everybody in the shop by just talking D&D for the entire time that we weren't working. And
everybody else in your shop play D&D?
No, they're all old people. They're all old people who consider alcoholism to be a sport. So,
speaking of which, today's episode is brought to you by AA.
Mm-hmm. And like, I can't fault them. It's like they're like drinking and motorcycle riding and cooking meat are their hobbies. Like that's what they do, and because that really does hammer the idea that all men at 35 must choose to either become masters of smoking meat or learning about war. So,
I always think about Rome.
Yeah, and I'm like, some of us also play role playing games, which is technically war. So shit. Okay, this is lining up right. And
Six Nations says, we need Earth's brightest. Send in the A team. The A team's on assignment, sir. Well, who do we have left?
That'll do.
To the table. That will have to do.
These people will have to do. Mm-hmm. But alcoholism is definitely a sport. And
have you ever eaten at Pizzeria Uno?
No.
Okay. That's an interesting pizzeria. They have one. They have one up where you live. They used to have them here, but they had like 100 beers on tap.
Okay, yeah. There's a beer, and there's a pub like that in our area still.
So you get a card when you say, "I want to be a member." The card is given you for free, and then the people say, "All right, awesome. I've got this card. How many stamps can I get today?" And they say 4. So you try 4 of their beers, and when you come back again, you try 4 more. 25 visit minimum, and you have all of your punches up. And then if you go around the world 4 times, they give you a cup that's kept at the bar, washed when you use it. It's got your name on it, and you get your drinks at a significantly reduced cost. So if you are willing to turn your liver into a black piece of flesh like this color right here, they are more than willing to give you the opportunity to have reduced alcoholism on your wallet.
I've got a friend of mine I used to work with who has that mug.
Okay.
I know this because we went out drinking with him one night. Well, I wanted a pizza, he wanted a drink, and we went in there. I had a nice calzone because they made some good. I make a damn good calzone.
Your food is great.
Yeah, and then when we walked in, the bartender knew exactly who he was and got his mug off the wall. And I'm like, "Been here often?" He goes, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, I just have Ye Old Neighborhood Tavern on the other side of the block, which I can drive to, which I could walk to conceivably. Why? You're talking about walking. I don't want to walk.
I don't want to walk.
I have the means to drive, and it's not a far drive. It's not like I would get like up to speed, and no, I'm good. But
Yeah.
I love my Ye Old Tavern. It used to be something a little bit more, but then it became something much less in the same name, and they started to get 60% on their food and health inspections. You get down to 60%, and things start to happen like reduced hours, more inspections. Then dead people started appearing in their parking lot at 2 and 3 in the morning. So then that got shut down. It's now reopened as new old time pub, and we'll see how this works. But I don't have great hopes for it. I've seen what they serve, and worse yet, their kitchen guy. The old hamburgers used to have like a good buttery taste because they smear it with butter, then throw it in a toaster. It comes out nice and toasty. This guy, either he uses a subpar bread or just like whatever they're doing now, whatever they have now, food wise, is just a bottom tier, like aristocrat level of bread. If you've ever had aristocrat alcohol, which I feel for you if you do, but like the hamburger bun fell apart before I was halfway through it, and I'm just there slopping meat and lettuce and tomato into my mouth, hoping that I'll get a strip of bacon and one of these gulps. We had 99 bottles. Took forever to finish the list. Lost the cards in the wash. Freaking finished with the O'Douls to get a T-shirt and plaque, only to find out they stopped 3 months before. Yeah, you get a plaque if you do the full round around the card, and a T-shirt. I don't know if they still do that. Good brews and food there, though. Crafting Gamer. I'm 34 and I'm heavily getting into Warhammer and other such games. I guess I'm a war guy.
Don't worry. You could also eventually get around to learning how to smoke meat. That
Yeah,
is an option.
yeah. I recommend at some point you turn to food and learn the finer points of smoking a brisket, or at least doing a proper pot roast. A crock pot will save you money.
Oh dear God, crock pots. Yes.
I can eat off of a roast for 2.5 days straight before I've exhausted that meat. It's wonderful. You put some carrots and potatoes in there and a few peppers. I like to add sliced jalapeno and cheese sausage, and that spices it up. It flavors it up a little bit more because meat's great, but sometimes meat doesn't really have a taste to it. It tastes good, it just doesn't have a definable taste.
It tastes of meat.
hmm But you put the sausage in there, and suddenly there's like a new layer of yumminess added to it.
But no, I said, but my boss, my assistant manager who quit, like we were just talking about D&D for hours and hours, and it's like because the thing was he didn't know anything. He didn't. Me, I'm sitting here telling him about like all these stories and shit. Like here's what you can enjoy with D&D, and then he's like, well, what about character class and all that stuff? I go, that's where you start. You don't stop there. You don't end at that point. Because, but that was also that point where I kind of realized, well, I'm saying that because I've already passed that newbie stage, that stage where class, race, and what combo actually is what I don't want to say what's important, but is what you know. And I realize that when I've asked certain players, hey, what kind of character concept do you got? What do you want to play? And then having players stop and go, well, I want to play a fighter. I want to play a dwarven fighter. I want to play or a human whatever, or I want to play a paladin. And I'm like, well, that's a good place to start. But what about that character do you want to play? What's the important thing for you? And that's asking a question that's a little bit more advanced than what most people know. Because say I was to come to you and say, hey, I'm going to play a Warhammer role playing game. We're going to do a Warhammer 40K campaign. What kind of character would you want to play? And unless I was with a bunch of people who were really in depth into a world, in depth into the setting, and knew everything, and would go, yeah, this is my character ideas, my concept. This is what I want to play. This is what I want to do, and all of that. You wouldn't have that for the new player, but a veteran player of the setting who already or knew the rule engine, knew everything, could come in and go, oh no, this is what I want. Like this is what I'm aiming for. This is what I want. And I know how to get it. And there's that. And I think the problem here that like with so I'm going to go back to Pathfinder here, but like with Hero Labs, is that it gives you all the options that would normally be reserved for a player who has system mastery, who knows what you can do with an engine. Because there's a reason why I grate under player's handbook only, because on some level I really want more. Like because I want more options, I want more flexibility, but that comes with system mastery.
Yeah, and I don't really dislike that, but I hate the metropolitan feel of Pathfinder, and especially you get into bigger cities and players like, I'm looking for a magic shop. I really don't want to give you a magic shop. I
don't really want to give you one.
I want to give you like maybe 20 options to buy stuff, and you have to figure it out. I don't want you to, like you just entered the city. You don't know everything about it. Well, I rolled a 46 on my knowledge local. We are playing high level. Well, you do know these areas exist, but you still don't really know the storefront and such. Well, I rolled a persuasion check. I rolled a diplomacy check. What's the building look like? Okay, how much gold are you going to give this beggar that you're asking these questions to? And I would much rather have it be a back and forth between myself and the player than I already know everything. I rolled a 50 on my knowledge logo, or I rolled a 16. I rolled a 16 plus my bonus of 47 for my diplomacy because I have a great ass. Tell me everything about it. Okay.
All right.
I really hate Pathfinder for the fact that they even put these ideas in the fucking core book. But if you're going to play a little bitch, I'm going to treat you like one, And my players in this other campaign, the alpha test campaign, don't act like that. But unfortunately, after a few years of playing a game and anything else, and that's based in Pathfinder especially, the Hero Labs mindset where I just click these things and I buy it. Man, I can't wait to be away from that system.
I understand. I think because lately I've been buying a bunch of I've been buying a bunch of core rule books for different games just to be able to see how they go at problems that what their solutions to problems that we have in games that we commonly know. because I know a lot of players will just get, this is the solution that works because this is the game I know, and I'm like, so I've been trying to hit other game engines to see what their solutions to the problems are, and one of these, and one of the I it's in one of the role playing games that I purchased. I wouldn't go out of the way and say I would want to run it because it's cool, but it's very narratively focused to its topic, which is okay. But how they handled a lot of the perception stuff, the because you mentioned the I rolled a 47 and therefore tell me everything. And what the game that I was looking at had, where if you rolled really good on your perception, your observation, because they called it observation, um, you were allowed to ask two really pertinent questions about the environment, like what person's there, what's something critical, but you were limited to two whole questions if you were rolled really really good. And that's like, and honestly, when somebody's like, I rolled my knowledge local and therefore I know what, tell me everything, part of me wants to go, that's not how knowledge local works, but hey, whatever. um oh god, i I guess I guess when I played long term games, my players just trying, like, I know, uh, having that show up into town and going, I'm looking for the magic item shop, and I'm like, you wouldn't know that. Like, it's a new town, right? Yeah. Do you know what's um ah? Sorry for being a bit on the ER.
Brain fart.
What was that?
Brain fart.
Yeah, because that kind of hit me off of the in the what the fuck moment there, guy.
Didn't mean to go there. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, when players do that kind of weird, um, show up in town and go straight looking for that, and I'm like, towns don't work that way. There's no ah. Maybe I just haven't seen that in a little bit enough to be able to be that. Oh, just oh, I hate that I'm brain farting on this, but because, like, I know the words I want to say, but I'm failing miserably at them.
It's okay.
Because I should know the answer to this, and it pisses me off that I don't.
You're not hurting my feelings. Trust me.
Oh, because the thing here is that asking those kind of questions and looking around, because say for me trying to just show up in, say, Decatur, just to use, I mean, like, recently I went down to the book barn in Decatur to
Really? Oh, we can talk for days about the book barn.
right, but I've heard about the place, I knew about it, but I'd never been there. So I'm like, I was tired of just looking at it and I've never been to I've never been there.
And for those of you that have no idea what we're talking about, it's on the north end of Forsyth on Route 51. There is
Yeah,
a wonderful location.
it's a great old bookstore.
Yes, it's Yield Bookstore, and Yield Bookstore is amazing
But
because
yeah, it's beautiful.
It's right here, north end of town, and here's Route 51. Just give you an idea. Here's oh yeah, there's a roadhouse. There's the old Hickory Point Mall Plaza. Nothing's there anymore. But Yield Book Barn has been there for ages, and
There is no computers inside.
none. They might have a clackety clack register.
They had a card reader that was really slow that day.
Yes.
But it's a wonderful bookstore.
Yeah. You want books? They got so many books. It smells like old books. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I might have seen half of it in the amount of time I was actually in there.
You stumbled over into the sci-fi and fantasy area, and you just were amazed at how much Fred Saberhagen they carry.
At the time, they had a mountain of butcher books.
I'm not surprised. He's getting to the age where his books are now going to appear in older shops, and I'm happy about this. They have cats there. This kind of reminds me of Nine Lives here in San Antonio. We have a Nine Lives bookstore that's next to the Dragon's Lair game store, which I don't recommend Dragon's Lair. I do recommend Nine Lives because it's a really good bookstore. But this is how a repurchase shop
should be. Because
that's where he went. That's where Khy went. I know it.
Actually, at the time I went there, they had very little of what I would call the kind of books that I'm hunting for anymore.
Really?
They have a lot of what I would call the coffee table books or the lightweight reader books, the ones that you read because you are like, oh, I want to know, like, I think this is cool and it's written by somebody, but it's not the in-depth technical books that I'm hunting for. So, yeah, I poked in, looked through it, and went, unless I was a really, really big fan of the American Civil War, there really wasn't a whole lot for me there. But I pretty much camped my butt in the sci-fi, fantasy, and historical sections. So, and Carmen and my wife got lost in other parts of the store too. So. But I did finally find a legit old copy of the book I was hunting for there, actually, because I wanted to, for a book that's this good, I wanted a new copy, but I wanted to get this, and proper.
Wait, is that Canticle for Leibowitz?
Sure is.
Oh,
Older printing of it too. So because I figured if I'm going to own a better, a not worn out copy, I still wanted to have an old copy because if you're if for Canticle Leibowitz, you should own the older because it's about keeping older books safe and safe. And I'm like, I want an old. I don't want a brand new copy of it. I'm going to go to an old bookstore and find an old copy of said book. And so I tracked down a book that the printing was from. It wasn't one of the oldest printings, but it's still a solid Bantam era printing. It was a 97. It was a 97. This printing was from 97, so it was at least a 30-year-old book, almost by the point that I picked it up. And so therefore, I'm like, it's still a good old copy of a fantastic old book. And when I explained it to the bookstore person, she's like, "Okay, because Carmen's like, well, can't we just go get one off Amazon?" I go, that would be a new copy. I want an old copy of an old good book. I don't want a new one. It's like, but it's a damn good book, and I wanted a proper copy of it. I could have spent a crap load of money and had a brand new leather-bound version of it, but I'm like, no, this is a book about keeping old shit around way longer, and appreciating it. I wanted an old copy that I could sit around and appreciate. I know I'm wired weird. It's a strange reason why you do something, but it's the reason why I did it. And yeah, but no, the thing here is that I had to get back to what I was actually trying to go for. Is that in the era before GPS, if I said I wanted to say I want to go to, like, I want to find that store, and so I would arrive in town. I don't know where it's at. I don't know where the mall is. I don't know where anything's at because all I know is that it's in Decatur. So I arrive in Decatur, and then I go, I want the bookstore, and then have people go, what? What are you talking about? Who are you? Like, well, I roll really good. Well, okay. They point you in a direction, and now you got to figure out how to navigate town to get to it and arrive. I know it's all minutia. It's all stupid stuff that, well, we're trying to get on with the adventure. And I'm like, no, part of the adventure is getting to the place that you want. Because I know that for me, who is driving, I am driving to get there. I had no idea how to get to Forsyth. Fuck, I didn't know it. So I ended up somewhere fucking weird, like just. I was on 55. I drove through Lincoln and through all these little itty bitty dinky towns to get to on rural roads to get back to a place to get to this bookstore, and I'm like, and I got lost at a golf course because that's where the road told me to go.
Yep.
And that's like I realized that that's part of the fun. Arriving in town and saying I roll to figure out where the book, where the magic item shop is, where the library is. It's like, no, I know that in my head, in my youth, I just assumed that because you could almost. I made fun of a player once who was so. No, actually, it wasn't me who made fun of it. No, remember the story right. I had a GM who was more into the comedic side of shit than I was, because I'm serious to the point where I'm like, no, there's some logic behind how the towns are laid out, and there's consistency. And then he was so tired of all of this shit that when he ran, he just went like, when players go, okay, he's like, you arrive in the small town outside the dungeon, because he's like, fuck it. He was like, no, this is Diablo land. No, it's just literally dungeons over here, town over here, and you just walk back and forth. Like, oh, okay, why? Because I'm tired of having to do all the camping shit. No, it's just the town is outside the dungeon, and then we're like, can we talk to the noble? And he goes, was there a castle? Did I tell you there was a castle? No, but we assume there's a noble. And he's like, fine. And then he had like 4 dragons airdrop a castle into the, boom, right there. Okay, there's a castle. Go talk to the noble now. And we're like, okay. And then we're like, well, is there a magic item shop? And like a bunch of goes, yeah, a bunch of day workers show up and build a magic item shop. Okay, there's a magic item shop. What do you do now? Oh shit. And because he was the one who hammered out first and pointed out to me, he goes, look, every town has 4 things: bar, temple, library, blacksmith, who's also your weapon shop, magic shop, and other things. Oh, because the guy who hammers metal also, can mass produce, armor, weapons on demand. He's got the back of his shop just a magic CNC machine, and just go armor, plate, heavy, boop boop boop, mithril, boop, and then it materializes because you inserted cash into the machine that magically makes your shit for you. And he's like, because I thought I was like bad. No, he was more pissed off about it than I was, and I was just kind of laughing about the idea that he's like, no, it's all fucking Star Trek now, motherfuckers. It's just, you just walk in, you insert your cash in there, and you get your shit. Are y'all happy now? And And I'm like, no, this is all cool, dude. Keep on running. And I know he was frustrated with everybody else being all nitpicky, but I've also had GMs get nitpicky with me on the things that I nitpick over. Because I'm one of those people who's like, no, my wardrobe has to be detailed out there. Everything I own has to be detailed, and I'm way too detail oriented. And I've had GMs make it clear to me that you don't need to have everything everything you own detailed down to what pocket and pouch it's stored in. And I'm like, but I have an A-frame. It's covered in pouches and bags. It's a heavy duty haversack. I know where.
Gnome character. Don't you understand? I can't live without 16 pockets or more.
Right.
At least 10 in my pants. And then I've got my apron on. Then I have my gnome jacket, which has another 8 in. 4 of them are on the inside. I have another 6 on the front of them. I've got my tool carrier slung over my shoulder like a bowcaster ammunition for a Wookiee. Don't
Yeah.
you understand my needs? Yeah.
Don't you understand that I need to have the 2 bandoliers for ammunition? I need to have the quick draw ready rack of potions in the event that I need to be able to hit a potion quick and I'm not looking for it. And they're specially made containers that are hardened so that way they don't break when I fall. And I need to be able to have specialty ammunition close so that I can just pull that out as I need it. And I need my backpack. And I know where everything's at. Everything is detailed to the point where, and
We have a JSA every time before we go in the dungeon, and there is a procedure for how you retrieve me at the bottom of stairs if I fall down them.
that's right.
Lady, what's going on, sir?
But
Yeah, I love that though, because that's a level of fear that somebody has to the game and how much they want to preserve their style of play. I like that. Lady says he's between here and bedtime.
hey, enjoy bed. If you get to it, enjoy it. But like I said, I've had GMs who got pissed off that I would write things out to that level of detail, while other players are just like, I have gear. I have adventuring gear. And I'm like, but what's in your adventuring gear? How are you? What, do you even know what you have? Goes, no, I have adventuring gear. I have everything I should have as an adventurer. I'm a professional. Oh, but, and it's everybody has their own strange things that they all do, and that's mine. Mine is there's a reason why I want to have every gear book ever written.
Wasn't there one of the options for like there was 4 ways to roll a character up for Shadowrun? It wasn't really rolling up a character, but one of the 4 ways was you are a gearhead. You get these items, and you don't get really much in terms of attributes, but you get gear, good gear.
Oh yeah. Use okay, so that's by the Shadowrun. That was by the that was the attribute system where you A B C D and if you put all your money in you put your primary your A in money, you had a million credits at start, and you could buy pretty much everything you could ever want, which is a lie because what I want is definitely over a million over a million credits.
What was the standard unit in the game back in the day? Was it yen?
The new yen. It was a new yen.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember that mainly because Mike did really good running us through the West Coast glop between San Diego and San Francisco, and we called it the glop, the Pacific glop, because there was not a tree between those locations. I mean, they did have trees, but they were like sparse. The majority of areas where people grew and understood how life is, grass was very rare. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I loved playing that kind of stuff. Like somewhere I still have those character sheets that were way over detailed. But the thing is that allowed me to become very invested in my character because when you buy all that shit, you know the personality of the person that you made. That if you make the obvious choice that your daily driver is a moped, you've made a choice. Like the personality you come up with is, I have no shame to my name, and I'm going to drive a Vespa around as my means of transport. And watching a Shadowrun GM stop and go, "Why a Vespa?" I'm like, because nobody's looking out for one of those. I mean, absolutely nobody's looking out for the guy who's on a little motor scooter. It's on a little Italian motor scooter.
Wasn't the original Shadowrun? Didn't you tally damage by how fast you were going?
And that's definitely one of the things that if you hit something that, yeah, uh,
Okay,
you,
'cause
you
there was an insert in a Dragon magazine that talked about some of the intricacies of Shadowrun's vehicular combat mechanics, and the picture next to it showed a tricycle.
yep,
Instead of pedals, it had the little rocket boosters. And
that would be Murphy's Laws. I know the Murphy's Laws entry for Shadowrun.
yes,
Yeah, that is that's a truthful
they
statement.
just got a reprint of the first edition core book they released, and there's some good stuff there.
Hmm.
It's going to be the make or break point, so let's see how I hold up. Dude, somebody have some gappy good thoughts to Flady. Continue to keep him in your thoughts for the next month or so, because, yeah, he's in one of those danger spots.
Ooh,
Be well, Flady. Good Lord. Don't let shit get to you, man. You've done this job for many years. Don't let this little crap and this little shit in time, don't let it be a breaking point. You need anything, you know you can call me, man. Seriously.
hmm.
Or other friends in the area too.
Uh, I know I'm just spewing out strange things here, but and I know that in a longer term game, in a longer running campaign, that's kind of what you're aiming for is your players to start making choices based more on just their wants and need, like their wants. And I kind of want, I like that. I, I wish there was a way to encourage more of that. Ooh,
I want I want such so many things for the system I'm writing, but I don't ever write for it. I just kind of cut and paste and then adapt everything to that.
right.
One of these days, I'm going to have to actually read it, and whoever the editor is, they're going to look at it and get so jarred by the varying styles of text that's split on there. They're going to probably have whiplash, and I feel sorry for them. I really hope they don't hate me.
I had one of those moments where I realized that okay, it's a trend that all of us seem to have as old gamers that eventually we all say we're going to write our own goddamn game engine. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. But then I started like finding myself starting to write down shit and going, no, I am that guy. I'm going to start.
When you have a whole sub channel on your Reddit or your Gilded or your Discord, and it's got all your various rules in it, and you just port everything to Google Desk, so you can have this wonderful collection of ideas, and you let one of your friends in there. It really
Hey,
uh,
Hungar.
Like they kind of get like overwhelmed at first. Like you have a 98-page document and you're not even done with the domains for the clerics yet. Do you understand that? Uh
Yeah,
huh. Yeah.
I'm quite accepting of that statement.
This is why. I mean, this right here. I'm going to just make a quick statement about Flaty. Flaty has been a very generous gentleman over the past years I've known him. He didn't have to do things. He did some things for me, which he didn't, like, again, did not have to do. Uh, because of the fact he was just willing to go on a limb and the things I was trying to accomplish, he kind of helped me achieve those things. Flaty will be getting the second hard copy of my rule system whenever it finally is done, no matter what. Flaty has done that. He's also dedicated years of his life to the perseverance of America and protecting America's warriors. So he's got a special place in my heart. Forever within a block, he's going to make sure, well, one, he needs to put his keys somewhere safe on his person because he's not driving anymore. And two, not worry about how much the Uber costs for him to get back to a bed because he's going to be taken back to wherever he's at and made sure he can function again tomorrow once the grogginess goes away. Dude has definitely done for me, and he's done for a lot of other creators in the space that he didn't have to do, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Flaty. Also, Hungar steps in. Hi, everyone. And he has a good laugh. Yeah, he's a solid dude, like a friggin' oak. He is. He's one of the best, and I'd like to see him get his due. You know, if all he's got to do is just like keep his head down for 18 months and bite on a rope, like this makes it hurt less. Okay, just go ahead and do that. 18 months for 20 years, dude. You've endured a lot. You got to go endure a little more, but afterwards, you got your toes in the sand. No, seriously, you're gonna get the second hard copy of this. And like I said, I've already got like 96 friggin' pages so far. I haven't compiled everything together yet. Janet, God bless her, she made me aware of the fact I haven't done anything on the spells and domains for clerics. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I was gonna do. Damn it. Yeah. So, yeah, Blaine. So, say you're running like a cyberpunk or Shadowrun game.
Yeah.
Act one of the campaign. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you feeding the players so they return?
Honestly, at that point, it's the instigating moment of because it's Shadowrun. It's a cyberpunk style game. Near future could be Altered Carbon or whatever, because that game is fun. Um, that's a fun game I'm never going to run, but it's honestly every game starts with the quest for more money because unless you're unless you're going to run the game as someone's a group of I know we always start at the bottom and then you kind of work your way up because it would be really hard to run the kind of game that I wouldn't mind running, say, one of Shadowrun's North African battle and combat tournaments where where you get like Seder Krupp and Ares decide to have a nice little go out in the desert with their combat sports teams. But that's also kind of a weird appeal since I don't know. I like the idea of real life World of Tanks happening out in North Africa because that's what the main corporations are doing for fun is to pitch teams of tank armored combat crews just blowing each other up for sport. Has an appeal because let's be honest, a lot of us have watched World of Warships and World of Tanks and War Thunder video games, and moving up to, well, we have so much extra hardware floating around, and this is a way to test our newest toys. So it would be battle bots, but I know that most players are like, I don't want to play battle bots in the desert because so they're playing, hacker fun. But I guess that, as you call it, the milk run, the gets you into the story, gets you into the feel of being poor, miserable in an environment where everyone hates you and where you're just no, they don't even hate you. They're just indifferent to your that you even exist, and then working them slowly into finding what they care about. And it's leaving it open-ended enough to have that human revolution moment. Deus Ex Human Revolution, or Deus Ex, the actual original game itself, where you gotta leave it. It's leaving. Here's your starting pad. Here's the direction I kind of want to push you in, but Night City is a very big city. You can go anywhere. There's no bumpers. There's no safety bumpers in the city. The only places you can get, unless I have an area where the police department has locked it down, or the corporations have locked it down, you can go anywhere. You can really do anything, and if you're willing to do Mad Maxing it, say if you're in Seattle, then Shadowrun, and you want to, or it was Cyberpunk, it's Night City. Once you leave town, you're now in Bandit Land, or whatever the fuck's outside the city. And it's either Mad Maxville or Native Americans who want to blow you up with spirit magic or whatever. You're just traveling and giving the players enough to get you. Here's the Johnson who gives you your first job. How you handle that job dictates how the next game, where the next adventure comes, because honestly, the first adventure is when you're handing out the MacGuffin that's going to bring you into it. It's like, unless your players are playing like pure professionals, where you're like, no, I'm playing the transporter. We're playing the transporter, or we're playing. No, we go in, we do the job, we get it done, we don't ask questions, we go get breakfast. That's kind of the mentality I have when I'm playing is, no, don't open the box. Don't look inside. Don't grab the important shit. Go to the next, turn it in. Don't ask, because don't worry, there's always a player who does. I count on the idea that there's a player who's going to do something stupid. And both a GM and as a player, I count on everybody else to do the stupid for me.
No.
What? The stupid? You okay, Bruce? Welcome back.
Yeah, we just had a problem with Rumble. That's all. That happens.
Okay. No. But like I said, it's always the thing of, I kind of assume my players are going to. There always needs to be somebody whose player's role is just to be there and be I'm the only the only wise person. I'm not going to say smart. The only wise person in the room who's going to say the obvious say of, maybe we shouldn't do this, and then the inevitable explosion that's going to happen, because that's just how players act, and it's going to be a mess, and the instigating event happens, and now we're pushing through to the next stage of the story. But that's always what as the game goes on, we should be more focusing on what our players what my players do, because I know I'm not the normal GM. I'm somebody who, once I will put a lot of effort into front loading as much as I can into that starting area, and then pushing you out the door of the amusement park that I pushed you into, and then letting you go do whatever the fuck you want. And usually because my players have talked, I don't want to say there's our session 0 being run. It's like, but your players are going to talk to you over what they've got in mind, what their ideal is. Like, well, this is what I want. This is my character's idea. You should have an idea who the people who are at your table, because unless you're playing at a convention or in a game store, you should know who the people who are at your table, and you should be talking to them, and they should talk to you back. I shouldn't walk to the table and be hit blindsided by to use your Pathfinder term of a Kenkyu or a Kitsune that is brought to the table, and I'm like, I should know ahead. Like, they're not going to be ambushing me at the table. They might ambush their fellow players, but they're not going to ambush me as the GM, because I'm literally going to be sitting there, and when the player walks in and sits down, I've already heard what they've been planning, and I should have a good idea what they're going to play. Now, will I know all the math all their tricks they've got planned? Probably not, because I'll admit, I'm not somebody who's going to comb over your character sheet and make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed. I'm not going to check your math. I'm going to trust you until something that screams stupid. Like that shouldn't be working that way. Once you get playing and somebody goes, okay, that shouldn't be working that way, and stop. Okay, audit time. Work through it. Like, but up until the point where I have to audit, I shouldn't have I trust my players, and I know it's dumb that I shouldn't trust players, but I trust them. And I know this really isn't answering the question properly, and I'm sorry, but it's just that I really want my players to have that moment of just they're going. They're like, they've taken the reins, they've taken the initiative, they're going, and all I'm doing is I'm sprinkling in the bad events, the ripples in the pond that I'm throwing in. It's like sometimes the players are the ones who do. If the chain of events happen and the action reaction, constantly back and forth, plots moving quick, that's cool. But occasionally there has to be that slow down point, and then I just throw in there, and now they're back to reacting, and hopefully they go proactive, and then that puts me into a reactive state, and it's a back and forth. It's storytelling. And honestly, a lot occasionally, yeah, the dice might come into it, and the players may. The dice should be there, and the dice should be at that point when they either need something more than just simply. I hate rolling dice because I know my dice don't roll very well for me very often. So if I can avoid dice rolling, I'm going to, as much as possible. I know some people want to roll dice because I know because you mentioned we walked into town, I rolled a 47. Tell me everything. And that's not enough, because you put little effort in, and you should get little effort in result. I mean, yeah, you walk in and to go to the gas station and get the brochure and open the brochure up, and it gives you, this is where the city hall is and the park and other things, but it's not going to tell you where Terrible Tony's underground baseball card shop is at. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're not going to find that one. That's not going to be on the tour itinerary. Like, sorry, when you rolled into town, you don't know where everything's at just because you rolled good. You rolled really good. Oh, cool. You know where the really good underground, that one really good bar is at, or the one like I didn't ask for that, and I'm like, tough shit. You didn't put any effort in. I mean, sorry, there isn't a Walmart maybe there is a Walmart, and So you know where all the general store shit's at. Congrats. I mean, you drove through town or you walked. And since most towns are pretty big and you can only really walk at a certain pace, and yeah, okay, so town's only about 3 miles wide, and yeah, you can get across town in, if you ran it, pretty short order. But I mean, cool, you can be across town by running in a straight line for 3 minutes, but would you have been through every part of town? Would you have stopped and looked around in the various shops and off the main drag? Maybe the town actually has more than one road. Maybe it's not Pig Swallow Hollow, Arkansas, and you know where you do have 3 or 4 roads, or maybe it is a major city like Decatur, because let's be honest, it's a big-ish city.
Yeah.
You know, so there might be more than one library, more than one place. There might be that one shop. Like it may have 12 shops, but each shop specializes in their one thing they're good at. You're not going to find a general store that has everything, and you don't know what you're going to walk into. You don't know if the town's going to have, well, you went to to Bob's magic item shop, but Sam down the street don't like Bob, and well, you went to Bob's first, and therefore fuck you, I ain't selling you shit because I don't like Sam. Um, that's just I a town should honestly give you a lot to work with. I know it's kind of weird and dumb to be like this, but it really should be. But I also know some players don't want to do that because that's a lot of unnecessary role playing work.
I like towns. Whenever I acknowledge something right away. When players go to town, like that adventure's kind of over.
Yeah,
The next stage of your game is going to be a lot of random encounters, a lot of bumping into NPCs, unloading set equipment if they're able to, if they don't get hit by the Thieves Guild first, and then trying to contact somebody as to who they did said job for, so they
yeah,
can either get next X on the map to go explore, or worse yet, they get some things. Lady's like, "Cool, man, thanks. Gonna bounce, get some sleep. Night all. Game on, people." I don't have my chat working on Rumble Studio since it fouled up. Oh, there it is. Good deal. It did pop back up. Awesome. Whenever uh, whenever you have a short on Rumble, sometimes your chat just disappears. So I had to go to my YouTube and see what he texted. I'll email you from my Yahoo, or get my email from my Yahoo. Then I'll email you from Gmail. Um, Going to town's one of those things that like that's almost like that. That's one of those games that you get a few things done. After that adventure is largely quote unquote over. You want to keep the party together, but if you can't, keep them together till the end of the session. And then at the end of the session, if they're in a spot, like I'm saying something wrong here. Let me replace that. At the end of the session, end on a cliffhanger.
yeah,
Always end on a cliffhanger if you can. It's like writing. Jim Butcher gave this advice years ago. Always end your campaign days on a cliffhanger, and then during the time between sessions, email or text your players. What exactly did you come in town to do before you got kidnapped? And
yeah,
now the questions that you would normally be sitting at the table after they've gotten out of that problem at the start of the campaign day next time, now you've got that question in the open with them and they have an idea as to what they want to do. And so hopefully you've got a commentary, a discussion, a narration between the two of you that between game days. So you have an idea what to prepare for next time, along with some random ideas you might want to do yourself. And that does typically expedite the town days. Higher level gameplay in a town is herding cats. Uh, what I did one time was really cruel, and it was to my Pathfinder group just like a month and a half ago. They got into town. I threw out the battle mat. It was a tavern.
I remember that.
And then at the end of the night, like as we're wrapping up, like all of a sudden, like part of the wall disappears to your left hand side, and then comes like these gigantic demons, and then here's a bunch of people that just come in, blowing apart things, and the party was like throwing a bitch fit the whole next session because I was asking them like, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And then like between combat rounds, it was like 40 minutes for combat round, 30 minutes for combat round because everybody's got a cohort or everybody's got a pet or everybody's got this or these special abilities. Now it takes me 7 minutes to roll my 3 attacks and tally damage or what have you, and it was just kind of a slow slog, and the players were bitching that like too much, like there's too much time going on here. Like the NPCs, the guards should be here. This is the biggest town in the campaign. No, it's not. It is a big town, yes, not the biggest town. Secondly, it's only been 18 seconds since the demons attacked. You are not going to get lightning fast response, and the response started coming in around round 6 or 7 of that fight, I remember, and the party was dropped numerous times. Actually, the fight ended for them because all of them got dropped in town. And the heroes of the town, the higher level guards and wizards, actually kind of beat the bad guys back, and they agreed to resurrect the heroes. What they did was they took the dead bad guys and cashed in that equipment, and that funded the majority of the heroes being brought back. There is a small like, hey, we need 20,000 from you just for material resources, but the party was thankful to be brought back after they were all dropped like fucking potato sacks at the Idaho market, and then that's where they're at now. They got taken to where the big bad guys are at, and we're currently waiting for that entire campaign to resume. That should be coming Saturday. I would be happy if they could just get the fight over with the big bad evil bitch of that campaign arc, because that would allow me to start the next arc, which is Czar. And for those of you that like Czar, don't worry, I love Czar. I love Czar to pieces. The ability to run in a high level campaign the way it's supposed to be done. Frog God Games does the high level campaigns best. I don't think there's a better high level campaign out there that's written to challenge players. And Czar has 8 pages of obituaries. I think 3 of them or 4 of them are filled up. So I mean that should tell you like they expect heavy casualties during gameplay, and that's kind of a big selling point for me. I want a campaign to recognize the fact it's deadly here. Bring your A game.
Right.
I think that's perfect. Go ahead, Blaine.
No, I I like the part. I think what I was thinking to myself there was listening to and then they were brought back, and I'm like, God, I miss when death actually meant something.
So do I. This campaign, it's kind of like a speed hump. That's about it.
It's like, well, I think yeah, when I was listening to the Pathfinder campaign, like, okay, so when we all die and and one of us escapes and comes back, and I'm like, shouldn't death mean something a bit more than an MMO? We went to I run back from the grave and then I hit resurrect the release and resurrect button and come back, and I'm like,
Well,
death doesn't mean anything.
one of those things I'm going to fuck with the party on, because going back to Czar, that's like the city that Orcus made. So those are the players, except for Travis's Grimson. Uh, I don't think Grimson's been killed yet. I think he's been close, but he always hits the ejection button before he's been killed. But I am going to capitalize as a DM on the fact that I dropped everybody else in that last fight. And going into Czar, they're all going to have like separate dreams and nightmares going into Czar itself. Because at the point where they ended that campaign last time, they had actually gotten where no other group had gotten with me before. I've had 3 campaigns there, they've all TPK'd. But they got to the point where the giant cloud of black crap was broken up and sunlight actually was going into the town. So specters were no longer a thing. So shades were no longer a thing indoors. Now the part of that is so weird is that the players found an old artifact hammer belonging to a cleric that right before he perished, he had a huge curse levied upon him. And so anytime he would smack something with a critical hit, it would bonk him back. And so he died delivering a huge blow to a bad nemesis. And the players get that hammer and it's got a curse on it. And so they have to go through these steps to get the weapon to where it works right. And that's something that just got cleared up right before they left last time because that party split up because of COVID. Fuck you, Fauci. Um, they had almost completed the arc, and the Cathedral of Orcus had been sitting on the ethereal plane, almost like part of the Monty Cook adventure. Dead Gods had not been completed. Dead Gods, there's a cleric that you bump into in Planescape and in Sigil, and he tells you, deliver this rose to this corner. And you guys have seen this corner before. It's a very familiar place, but you just don't understand why is this ringing a bell, but nobody can understand it. It's kind of like if you go to the movie Dark City, Shell Beach. Why do I not recognize? I know I've seen Shell Beach before. Well, they have an advertisement for it on top of one of the buildings, but since this is a spaceship and none of the city roads lead anywhere outside, all of you are stuck here on this prison planet under experiment by these aliens. And Shell Beach is just something that the aliens created. It's a grafted memory because you all think you've been to the beach before, but instead you've been stuck here in their petri dish. And this temple is actually the rubble that's there that you deliver this rose to. It starts to unravel the illusion, and this old broken temple to a god that quote unquote didn't quite make it rouses this sliver of a spirit of Orcus, and he masquerades as another god for a little bit until you do all the things he needs, and then the spirit comes back in full. And so does the temple, and then you have to figure out how to beat that temple and Dead Gods. But in the book series for Slumbering Czar, you have a plateau, and right under the plateau where the city starts, it's here, it just goes down, it slides down the rest of the way, and there's all these levels of the city, but at the very top level, right before the plateau, which goes up to the Stoneheart Mountains, there's a plaza with an unusual pentagram with like 11, no, there's 12 notches in the ground. And the players, as they move around the city, they find these little statues, and the little statues actually fit the notches. The last notch is unfilled until from the ethereal plane, here comes this gigantic Orcus-like cathedral that just kind of hovers through like the Zardoz head. The gun is good, Venus is bad. And then it settles on that pentagram, and you have a big fight, and you get the last statuette, which solidifies it in place. And you have to enter the statue of Orcus at the ankles, and you have to fight up the seated goatsman god through the throne, through the thighs, and the belly of it, and then up to the shoulders, and eventually the head. And before they do that, I'm going to give them the worst nightmares their players have ever had, because they're entering the domain, basically, of Orcus, going into this gigantic temple where they only know that the sleeper's there. And
Okay.
I could do some serious some serious David Lynch style shit with the Muad'Dib basically, and just completely run the players ragged on there. And I plan on that, but I want to bring back fear into high level gaming, and that's my GM goal with that group. Before I finish my Pathfinder run, I will have them do that. And the Slumbering Czar is the best high level adventure module campaign I've ever read. It goes from 7th level to 20th. They're currently at like 17th before they wrap this up in the old Burgundia stuff. But
So they're about ready to get done.
yeah, they are, and I'm looking forward to it. It's a high time for me, and it'll be a nice ending for that campaign. There's the book that I recommend anybody use for Pathfinder or 3.5 or 3.0 is Advanced Bestiary. Owens Owen K.C. Stevens wrote it, the original, back in 3.0, and it was bastardized to 3.5 by a lot of people with conversion guides on the web. And then they finally made a Pathfinder version, and the Pathfinder version is the only real monster manual uh, accessory you need aside from the basic monstrous bestiary, and it is a monster multiplier, exponential monster multiplier, because it's 100 templates. And I plan on abusing this book at my players' fear because, they have a very high powered group. I want them to understand, like, yes, you've gotten where nobody else has gotten before, but this is still an evil place and you should fear and respect it. Good luck. And I think as any DM, you guys would probably agree with that. That's something that every DM should aspire to do. They should aspire to make their players enjoy themselves, or not make them, but to offer them an enjoyable experience. But at the same time, they must be challenged. It cannot be just
Yeah.
milk run. I'm just mowing the lawn. I'm cutting down kobolds for XP. It's like playing against the Houthis when you're American forces in Yemen. I've got an A10, and I've got a Moab waiting on him. It's currently in the C-130, and I'm going to clear out this rectangle of people. Oh, Allah said it's right here, but we have no shovels. Allah will provide. Sorry. So
It's okay. I'm stickering too.
uh, I I'm looking forward to the end of that campaign, just for the fact that Pathfinder's been a wonderful way to spend time with friends, but as a game system, it definitely has its weak points. And I'm looking forward to a system to explore with friends, and we discover weak points with this system, because I understand, that's just part of being a GM. That's why, official game systems like Shadowrun evolved to second to third to fourth to fifth, and other systems like Advanced D&D went to second ed, went to third, and such. The really, as a GM, if you have the same group of people and they're not leaving your table anytime soon, they've accepted your brand of whatever game you design to run on them. They've accepted it. It's in the contract. They're there. They're there for 4 to 7 hours, and really, to make your players happy, you have to be willing to go against what's been written in the books, what's written in the spaces, and you have to learn how to deal with rulings, not rules. You deal more with rulings, and you're going to have people sitting there more and more often, because you're going to be appealing to their common sense nature, not things that were written 20 years ago that, now, well, there's a reason to build a character like this because this super module has this magic item that I want to buy for every campaign you run from here on out. Well, it's not available in every campaign. It might be available. There will be some quirks about it. And that's what you need to do. You need to vary up your monsters a little bit. You need to play with your potions, your magic spells. Give them something new, something to experiment with. The game is one of adventure and wonder. There's no need for you as a GM to feel like you're handcuffed to all the text within a book or on a web page of errata. You are playing in a game of let's pretend. Let's pretend.
Honestly, the mistakes are usually where all the fun happens.
It is. And I can honestly say I thank Crafting Gamer because he's thrown in new spells and devices every week in my Gilded that I'm needing to re-examine and look at and see exactly how I can use this for my game. How can I make this to where he would want to pick this whenever he has gold available? The players just got 300 gold for liberating a keep outside of the little town of Pembros. The spoiled son of a very well known warrior, very well respected warrior, paid them 300 gold. They have like more money in one location than they've ever seen anywhere else. Granted, they've got a sizable amount of money in their treasure chest they carry with them, but like regular peasants won't ever see like more than 20 gold at a time.
Right.
Like I dialed it back. I did go with the silver standard, not the gold standard. Gold is kind of used between banks, and more often than not, like whenever they find an actual haul, they find bars of silver. I think that bars of silver are actually the best way to have like, okay, this is a measure of or a unit of currency that really no one else really fucks with. It's only the financial institutions, the guilds, the banks, the lending, they use this. And that's how the players know they're kind of getting in the big leagues. And then you have guys like Crafting, who he's like, I've got a parcel of land. I'd like to learn how to play with it more. Okay, I want to do that too. Trust me.
Oh, I had an odd moment where I don't want to call it an odd moment, but it was a funny moment where somebody sat down and explained to me it. So we got into the conversation of how we usually make the joke of you brought a dragon horde worth of cash into the system, and now the economy is shattered. And
I hate that conversation, but yes, go ahead.
no, but we've heard that conversation.
Yeah, way too many times. And that's usually written in a magazine whenever somebody's complaining, like, oh my God, I've started a Monty Hall game. I got to either restart or fix this. And they give the worst advice to try to fix this.
Oh, I know. But the thing that came up that I thought was humorous for once into it was simply the fact that they brought up the idea that even even coinage is not really coin. Like we put value into the money because we know it's a tradable resource. Yeah, in D&D we generically dump the we just say it's all we don't say rands or marks or pound sterling. We
We
just say
actually, actually, Frog God put that in the Bard's Gate book. They have the various types of coins that you find from various nations because
mm-hmm,
Bard's Gate's a very metro marketplace, and so you
mm-hmm,
can bump into like the standardized silver is got like a silver harp on it, and then the gold wheels. You have a wheel on one side and a picture of Macobert on the other for some of the older coins. So you have things like that already written into the flavor text that I love. And then they do have like in other supplements, you've got the coinage for that region.
right.
They don't really give you like varying markets. Well, this is worth more than this. The silver from Bard's Gate's 47% more worth than the silver from say Ream. They don't have that. They let you deal with that if you really want to do that. You don't have to.
Yeah.
That should
Now,
mean that you fuck with yourself.
oh yeah. Now the thing that we kind of went for, and that he was pointing out was the simple idea that okay, the gold pieces that the treasure, that your dragon's been sitting on for thousands and for hundreds of years is mostly gold that's out of circulation. they're from like ancient kingdoms, ancient armies, ancient empires that are no longer around. So there is that. So you bring all this gold, and they're gonna look at you and be like, "What's this?" Well, it's a gold coin. Yeah, from the Roman Empire. I'm not gonna walk like you're not gonna walk into McDonald's and slap a
Kruger Ant.
a Cougarant or a old dinar or a piece of 8 on the counter and say 1 cheeseburger, please. And they can look at you and be like, "No, but it's a gold piece." No, it's a Spanish doubloon. It's not a gold piece. It's and suddenly you're going. So now you have this pile of dragon cash that, unless you're going to build an economy around dragon cash, so yeah, you have dragon coin and you have no way to spend dragon coin. It's just sitting there. And
so how would you fix that, Blaine? Let me know.
At that point, it would just simply be the gold is only now worth, it's actually like all that gold, silver, and copper is actually just worth the coin, how much a block of 1 kilogram of gold, gold is. So at that point, you're having to go exchange it, find people who will actually smelt it down into bars, and you're having to spend all this time and effort into, like, the coin is unspendable. It's like you're sitting here digging through this pile of cash looking for coins that are still in circulation, still from a kingdom that's in existence. So it's just kind of this weird thing of like old coin, current coin, old coin, and you're sitting here trying to figure out how long has it been since the dragon had a raid. When was the last time the dragon went out there and stole more money and threw it on the cash pile? So you're looking at all this devalued coin. It's just raw. And you'd almost have that situation that we have with pennies, where it's the amount of metal in it is actually worth less than the actual penny. And you're like sitting here going, okay, so these are, and suddenly you're like looking at this this mass devaluation of just cash. And it's like, wow, 1 million dragon bucks. That's actually worth only about maybe a quarter to half that. That's after we've split it down to just raw material. And at that point, it's not coin. Well, and the thing is that you now have a lot of bars of gold. And you really just can't just walk into a place and slap a bar of gold on the counter and be like, "I made this." And you'd have there's like all this extra work now of trying to get that gold bar certified and all this other stuff. Like, so this monster's dragon hoard really isn't worth nearly as much as you think it is, because I'm sorry, that Cougarant ain't worth shit over here, because, well, let's be honest, I was gonna say pound sterling. Like, I'm sorry, that chest full of pound sterling just isn't fucking worth shit now, because, well, we don't actually trade in that 1600s coin of pound sterling. That's just, sorry, the inflation value of that is like, sorry, he was pointing out the idea that even if it's coinage, it's still a fiat currency that without the empire behind it to back it, it's just metal. It's just paper. And yeah, it's gold, it's copper, it's whatever. But the thing is that without the civilization to back it, it's worth nothing. And it's kind of the same joke we have when somebody has, all those people like in the event of societal collapse, make sure you have all your money in gold. Gold's worthless. It's like, because, sorry, we listen to talk radio, we hear make sure you have all your money in gold. And then when the end of the world happens, you're sitting here going, I got all these gold bars. I'm rich, right? And then somebody looks at you and goes, gold ain't fucking shit, dude. Where's your ammo? Where's your food? Where's all the stuff that you, but my retirement investments in gold bars ain't fucking shit, dude. And the same thing is happening when you're adventuring party who has all their money in C bills or river bucks or whatever coin into the realm that they decided that is the universal exchange rate. And I know it's simple to just write it down as gold piece, silver piece, copper piece, because I have this exact same argument when I play BattleTech, because BattleTech has house bills, C bills. Well, at a certain point, Comstar is no longer around, so it's no longer the C bills, no longer the standard. Yes, and then they wrote in, and the creators wrote in saying that Clan C Fox creates the new Merchant Guild standard, and it's now called the C bill, SEAE, instead of C dash bill. Wow, it's the C bill, and well, where the C bill isn't exactly worth it. Like, there's an exchange rate published in there, and ultimately, if I say that you've been paid in an equivalency of 1,000 C bills, but I paid you in Capellan Confederation bucks, well, okay, I paid you 1,800 Capellan bucks, which translates into 1,000 C bills. So in the end, we do all the conversion work and we come back to, oh, wait, it's still 100 gold pieces. Okay, fantastic. We've now gone back to 100 gold piece. I tell you it's 100 gold pieces, but actually, due to exchange rates, I actually paid you in 78 in 78, river bucks. And due to devaluation or trade imbalances, and the empire just lost a war, and now their dollars actually, their gold piece is now worth a little bit less, but in the end it all balances out back to a standard dollar bill. But the thing is that, so say you have all your money in the gold pieces of Good Guyville. Good Guyville is a grand kingdom of goodness, and then it gets defeated by Evilberg, comes in and smashes it, and now all your good guy coins, even though they're still gold pieces, aren't worth shit, because I'm sorry, Republic credits aren't traded around here. Um, to use a little bit of Star Wars in there, sorry, we don't trade in Republic credits. And you get back to that mentality, and it makes a strange amount of sense. We do yeah, I did add tariffs in there. No, we're sorry. Our outer rim, evil. Let's see. Our evil hut credits out here in the rim don't do tariffs out here. That's Republic shit and Trade Federation shit. But no, in the end, all of it comes back down to it's a dollar. It's a dollar bill. It's still a silver piece. It's still a gold piece, and all the semantics add really cool flavor, but it's not necessary. But it is necessary the moment you bring in, a shipload of Spanish doubloons or dragon dollars that you roll in a town with dragon bucks, and the magic item shop goes, I can't fucking spend this. This isn't money. Oh, it's money. No, it's not money. And suddenly, you've you've put a lot of extra work in. You're not destroying an economy. You're actually showing what an actual real economy would do, because I guarantee you, if you rolled into, say Paris, 1200 AD with a cartload of Roman gold coins, they would take it off of you, but they would probably be smelting it down, and you wouldn't get nearly what the value of it. Like, wow, 10,000 Roman Empire coins. Fuck yeah. That's actually not worth shit now.
And that's kind of funny, because like, it should be an adventure for you
Yeah,
to actually turn your pile of ancient gold into something you can use. That should be like another 2 or 3 sessions.
right.
You bumping into NPCs, of you finding a person that can broker this, and he's got like a side quest he wants you to do for him first. So you got to go plant this mystic fucking maple tree, which summons this fucking virgin and her goat to go down the side of a mountain out of the middle of fucking Europe and come to you with this sacred yogurt of splooge, and then you have to feed the yogurt of splooge to the great mighty Pooh. And the great mighty Pooh gets into like this horrible like accident where now you have to hire a rabbit to shave the great mighty Pooh.
Yeah,
And once you're done with that, like now he's willing to trust you. You've done these ridiculous tasks. Okay, you're willing to pose nude in front of me on the internet on the live stream. That's awesome. I got you. Thank you for your shame. Now let me take your 42,000 pieces of ancient Spanish doubloons, which nobody fucking cares about anymore, and I'll make them into something that you can actually use. And then he hands you, after it's all said and done, 41,000 unmarked coins, which register as 100% gold that you can use. Or maybe, it's actually 88,000 gold coins that you can use. But like the mint takes a year and a half to do. So you and your friends sit there paying out 2,000 gold a month waiting for this to happen. And you really couldn't, you could go do something else in that year and a half while the mint is in process, but you don't want to get too far away because that's your fucking money you're walking away from.
yep. And do you trust him to be able to stick there and do it for you?
You better just stay there.
You probably better stay there.
Yeah.
And yeah, he walked me through that, and I was laughing because this suddenly made a lot of sense. Because he's like, yeah, this is exactly what you would be worrying about if you were actually worried about this shit. And I just kind of snickered to myself and went, that's actually hilarious. And yeah, so suddenly I'd stopped worrying about players crashing economies, because players don't really crash economies because they're actually far more resilient than what most of us give them credit for.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of people don't think of. They just see the fucking the miserable the information on the front of the magazine for Dragon, or on the front of White Dwarf, and how to make your players like respect the economy around them and such. Like, in all honesty, I would rather have a campaign where the players, like, they have to not traffic in gold and silver, but they're actually doing like reclamation or heist style stuff, because that causes like an enemies list to start popping up, and as every successful adventure goes on, they like have this like pile of stuff behind them that's only two steps behind them. Don't get comfortable.
Yeah.
I love that. That's something else that high level games don't do nearly enough, is that they let the players get comfortable.
Oh God, yes.
Cigar DM tariffs, that comes in various forms. If you were playing in my alpha test game, you'd see that more. In the Bard's Gate game, that's about to take a real face you haven't seen yet with my gaming. Good luck, because going to the city of Zara, which has been ruined and avoided for over 200 years, there's going to be a lot of that. Trade glass beads for cockle shell beads. Trade shell beads for skins. Skins for silver. Yeah, we want to do all this. Go ahead.
Okay, I used to get a reputation when I was running a whole lot more with my more common group I was the like, we're here to play D&D, not I had not figured out what the toilet paper trade is, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, because I was somebody who paid my players in trade goods, and then they were like, well, shit, what's and one player went, oh fuck, now we're off to go figure out what the what the current price of toilet paper is in China, so that way we can make a better deal and get our maximum money. And they're like, oh fuck, all right, everybody, toilet paper trade time. And I'm like, guys, I'm not that bad. And they would give me a look across, like, you are. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. But it was a moment of them laughing about the fact that I'm like, no, I make you I'm paying you in garbage. You need to figure out how to haul your garbage around. Like, just give us the coin. No, I'm not giving you coin. You haven't. And they would just kind of sticker at it because they knew this was how I fucking did shit. And they're like, economics. But that was also because I had one player who he's like, I went to school to be an accountant, right? And I'm like, ship, I sure do. He goes, I don't want to use my my actual accountant education and economics, education while I'm playing D&D, right? And I'm like, but why not? And he laughed and went, you know what I want to do? And I'm like, tell me, what do you actually want to do? And then from that point on, when he realized that I was willing to go into economics and shit, he played barbarians from that point forward. He's like, I'm playing a barbarian. My job is to walk into towns and then break shit. But we want to trade and do. I was like, I am a loud barbarian. Fuck you. I'm not doing this shit. And I loved it because he was like, nope, not doing this shit. This is my real world job. Fuck you. And I laughed because he knew I was just doing it to fuck with him. But
that kind of goes over the things I wanted to do in order to give DMs and others an idea as to where they could take their game. We've been going for about 2 hours and 21 minutes. My wife is home now, and I want to speak with her.
All right.
We got some more ideas for 2 weeks from now too, because some other ideas popped up, so I scrolled them down.
Well, in 2 weeks, unfortunately, I won't be available because next week, next section, because I'll be out of town.
Okay, I will be doing a paint and chill then.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to be in Chicago that weekend.
Please don't accept any bullets. That's all
No,
I ask.
no, I'm going to be in Rosemont and Rosemont's pretty safe.
Pretty
So
chill. Have you been to Gurney lately?
not lately. Is this something wrong with Gurney lately?
Nothing's really wrong with Gurney. I want somebody that I know to go and explore the Goliath roller coaster at Great America.
It's a
It's
it's a fantastic coaster.
it's a RMB RMC. It's RMC, and RMC is my favorite roller coaster manufacturer.
I've already ridden the Goliath a while back ago, and it's a fantastic coaster.
Yeah, it's got topper track on it. Uh, it's one of their original designs. It's one of actually the first original designs they did. This and Outlaw Run made I believe the year before. So this is one of those that when you see it in action, you're like, oh wow, that looks kind of neat and looks really smooth. Yeah, it's really smooth. They have a wooden frame with the last bit of the topish being iron make. So they did this. The first one they really did this with was the New Texas Giant in Arlington,
Yes.
and then they worked on the making the Rattler, the Iron Rattler here in San Antonio. The Goliath is one of the ones more recent. But this is a very well done coaster. That's an 85-degree drop,
Yes.
and then it goes into this series of super bank turns, over bank turns, basically, and then you have this really neat zero G Heartline
Mm-hmm.
dive and another zero G roll right there, Heartline roll. but I love RMC. This is based out of Idaho. Our friends Crafting and Six Nations, they live in that area, and so they get to see these if they want to. That's close to them. But anyway, if you've ridden that, you enjoyed it.
Oh God, it was great coaster.
That's a fast coaster too.
The line's way too long. Would you wish it was? Would you wish the ride would be longer?
Yeah, I can see that.
But that's just me. I want more. So
Um, I think their longest is still the Steel Vengeance, which used to be
mhm.
Blue Streak, but the Steel Vengeance has like areas where it can actually slow the train down in a block zone. So if there's another train in the zone ahead of it, it can wait for that train to exit into the next area so it can let you go and proceed through that section of track. I watch a lot of El Toro Ryan. He's a good
Good
YouTuber
good
that does
channel.
roller coaster, amazing channel. El Toro in New Jersey was the first RMC build they did under some other company. There was four monster roller coasters that are basically identified as sisters of each other. El Toro is one of those four, and it's the same roller coaster they put in four places. El Toro, it looks like they're one of their finest works. They just the park itself did some retracking and restructuring because some of the wood was getting old after like 15 years. That just needs to happen. You need to update your coasters, need to make sure they don't get rattly and rattle apart.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, my name is Bruce. Tonight we had a show with my friend Khy. He's in one of the greatest cities in America, Peoria, which a lot of people are like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Peoria actually rocks."
It's a great city. That
Yeah, it is. There's some good things to do there. It's kind of building itself back after Caterpillar kind of left part of it vacant, but that happens.
Caterpillar fucked us. We know it.
Well, the problem that I had wasn't that Caterpillar fucked you guys, but after they realized they couldn't make money where they were thought they could, they didn't go back to Peoria because there was still a population willing to work for them. Still is.
Yep.
You know, Peoria was built by Caterpillar, and most of the Ivy Illinois River Valley is that way because you had like what 50 Caterpillar factories and facilities up this river,
Yeah.
and all of them are basically shut down now. But
Pretty
Caterpillar
much.
went elsewhere because of tariffs and taxes. And when they found out that the populations where they went to weren't that cooperative or that productive, they should have gone back to Illinois because as much as Illinois costs to do business there, they could have used that leverage to get a better deal.
Yeah. China sucks. So
China is asshole. And with that, let's get out of here. Everybody pay attention to unsubscribe on Sunday. They're going to put out a new video talking about what's been going on in Buffalo and the things that have been discovered. It looks really heavy.
yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about, then you know.
Yep. Take care.